So I'm out here on my Hobsco electric bike, but man, lickety split, I was able to get out here and look at this beautiful, absolutely outstanding hay crop. It has yet to be baled. I just cut this yesterday and it's already dry, which is crazy. We've had a massive drought, just massive drought the last couple of years. Haven't had much precipitation at all. So the fact that it's looking this great is amazing. So looking forward to getting this all baled up. And yeah. Oh my gosh, there's a turkey. We have a turkey invasion. And it's not surprising to see them out in the hayfield, but they don't care. I'm literally probably 75 feet away from this turkey and she's just coming right up to me. I don't think I'm speaking the right dialect. Ah yes, first cutting hay in Michigan. You gotta love it. In late May, we almost always have wet weather. It's pretty much guaranteed that every Memorial Day, you're gonna get rain. That's always how it's been. Except for the last couple of years when it's been surprisingly dry. But in Michigan, because of the Great Lakes we have surrounding our state, you really don't know what the weather's going to give you. It could be sunny and then all of a sudden you could have a pop-up thunderstorm. So despite the fact that we've been in a drought for the last couple of months and have had next to nothing as far as rainfall, and even though there's nothing in the forecast coming up, you just don't know what lies around the corner. This is one of the first times in a long time that I'm actually making hay and feeling happy about it and confident, knowing that very likely it's not going to rain on my hay. And of course, continuing to pray that it won't. But look at the field. Look how thin it is in some patches. It's interesting looking at the field after it's just been cut and laying there. You can see all of the areas that are struggling to grow. All that green that you see, that's all grass that isn't growing. That's all grass that's thin, and nothing was cut and laying down to dry in those areas. I wasn't sure what to expect as far as how thick these windrows were going to be. And of course, I forgot that I had adjusted my rake last year because our second cutting was so massive that it was getting stuck in the hay rake. So if you watch, normally I can collect 2.5 rows, but I'm missing part of the left row, and of course I'm taking part of the right row. And if you look in the center, you can see 2 nice little lines going right down the middle, when it should be one solid line. For some reason this year, my mind was just not focusing well on making hay. My cutting was off, I kept missing grassy areas, and my raking is definitely off. Look at this turn. It is very indecisive. I'm not quite sure what I want to do, where I want to go, where am I going with this whole thing. But at the end of the day, as long as it gets raked into rows, it doesn't really matter. It's just more frustration on my end, not knowing what on earth my brain is trying to come up with here. So right now, we are going to be raking right before we bale. There hasn't been any dew on the ground at all. Sometimes if we're lucky, it'll cook off the field by 10:30, but noon is usually when it comes off, especially in May. For there to be no dew coming up out of the ground at all is unheard of. But it makes for drying hay a lot easier, and it also makes sure that when you rake the hay, you really don't have to flip it a second time. And when the hay is this dry, you don't want to handle it much at all. Otherwise, it's going to end up crumbling to pieces, and you're going to get extra dirt mixed in too. Even though it's not quite as thick as I would like, This has been one of the best hay crops in a long time for first cutting hay. There are next to nothing for weeds at all. Even though the field isn't very thick, the weeds just haven't really grown.
So it's hay raking time. I'm collecting roughly about 2.5 windrows. I mean, you can see there's like 12 inches between each windrow. The fields are laying down a lot better than I expected. This area right through here, you'll see, is a lot thinner. Of course, I'm also not collecting. I'm driving down my rows. I know it's counterproductive in a hay field to, you know, have 2 sets of tire tracks, but unfortunately, that's kind of what we're doing here. I don't know, so that's why we are turning our circles into rows. So we are not doing the ends just yet. We'll do that at the very end. And. And I'm still getting a handle of how to run patterns. Oops. Come on, baby. Oh, I'm gonna pull it over here. So I guess at the end of the day, as long as I'm not missing any hay when I'm doing this, and as long as I have pretty even windrows, it doesn't really matter. I mean, I could adjust the arms in or out, but I don't know. I mean, you could spend a couple hours just playing with the arms to see where you want them, but at the end of the day, this is the windrow that I'm getting, and that's pretty good size. It'll get a lot smaller as it continues to dry, but it's fairly dry right now. I maybe could bale it in a couple hours. Sure how much hay we're going to be getting. It's always a fine balance of wanting lots of hay because you're being more profitable, but then you have to have a place to store it. And you know, if we have more hay than our hay customers can take, then we have to find new hay customers. And so that's where it gets a little tricky too, because people end up liking the hay so much, they want to be a full-time customer, and then it's tough because you can't promise them that much hay. The customers I have, I know I can make hay for them and for myself. And as we continue to grow the Christmas tree farm, we will erase another hay field. It'll be the one closest to the house. It's a 2.5 acre field. In order for that to work, I have to have this field in high production, and the field back there has to be in high production. And so far, they're definitely not. Obviously, rain is going to play a major factor. If we don't get the rain, it doesn't matter what you do, you're not going to have that high number of hay. Right now, it's not looking too thick right there. So this is our, you can see where I stopped and I started doing the middle like this. I used to run circles with this, but this rake does not like running circles. It prefers to do straight lines. So If I had a disc mower, I would probably mow in straight lines too, but I don't have a disc mower. I just have my sickle mower, so it's all right. So we'll keep the equipment we have and just continue to use it, and we'll just maintain our hay production. And like I've said before, it doesn't matter how good it looks, it matters how it tests nutritionally. So you could have the world's most gorgeous looking hay and have really bad levels that could poison your horse. Every year I see so many people talking about their horses just falling over dead, and I can pretty much guarantee it's because the hay is not right. The hay is not right, so they're poisoning their horse and they just don't even know it. You can see we have a lot of chaff that the hay rake is pulling up out of the field. There's a lot of dead areas. That's not going to hurt the hay, it just doesn't look as pretty. It adds a little bit more ash into the hay, which isn't the end of the world. Our ash levels are always really good, so that's not a big concern. And I mean, it's not a super thick windrow in every area. All right, so you can see how it's picking up two thinner windrows and just barely getting them together. Honestly, I'd probably like it a little bit tighter. I've got probably, I don't know, maybe half the field done. Yeah, I probably could have just pushed that back together. So I just realized that I extended it out because I was getting such large windrows last year for the last cutting. So maybe I need to lower these down and then angle them in just a little bit to make it more narrow. And we just gotta figure out which of these it was that I adjusted last time, because I don't remember. So my aunt came over the other day, and she comes over like once in a great blue moon, like every couple of years. And she looks around, she's like, wow, boy, you've really got a lot of projects going on all at once, don't you? I'm like, yes, sadly. That is the reality of it. Farming in general is a very scattered thing, unless you're planting, and even then, if you have a breakdown, you know, that gets kind of crazy too. So one thing you're gonna see is that our grass is growing huge. What the task for this year is, we're protecting the electrical because we have cordage run out the back and it zigzags all up and down through there and around. And I knew that at one point it would probably get run over, and it did last year, and I had to rewire it all.
I knew it was coming. It was bound to happen. One of these days, it was going to happen. It wasn't supposed to be like this. No, this was supposed to be a temporary solution. But it never got permanently put together. And so, it was run over by a crazy person on a lawnmower. So, Eric likes to play hardcore rock and roll while he's mowing the grass. It gets a little ugly. Luckily, I know a thing or two about electrical work. Now, while this still isn't a code, this is how we run it. We're going to make a new plug end, and this is going to plug into our electrical outlet. So to take our plug apart, we pull the bottom off and we slide it on the wire. We strip off the end of the main cable and the 3 wires inside. The 3 wires are all going to connect into those little screws on the side. The black is going to go on the gold, the copper is going to go on the green, and the white is going to go on the silver. And then this all just slips right into the bottom cap. You slide it up, screw the top screws in on the top, and plug it in. And with any degree of luck, you should have your power line repaired. But we need to fix this so it doesn't happen again. Eventually, I would like to have a system set up right here where I have a cutoff switch so I can switch between solar power and shore power. But you know my time, not gonna happen. So we are going to put this in a tube and protect it. So we have all of this PVC tubing right here. This was used way back when we had cows and we had to give the cows water. But anyway, we're not doing that anymore. So I can repurpose this pipe and use it to protect my electrical cord. This is not outdoor electrical cord, guys. So don't think you're just gonna stick this in the ground. This is not. I think it's called conduit. This is the indoor conduit. So this will break down. It's not UV protected. It's not protected against the elements. And obviously it's not protected against lawnmower. So we're gonna stick it in this tubing. And then here's the other thing you guys are gonna like bang your faces on the table about. I know. Okay, first of all, in my defense, I didn't know anything electrical until I started wiring out my cabin. This electrical has been installed way back when we first did the sugar shack. This is our portable power outlet. You can see that it's stuck on a cord, which is run around and under the house, and then it pops back out in the very back and into our circuit breaker. It is not safe. It is not up to code. It is not any of that stuff whatsoever. But that is what is running my cabin. So not only do we have to put the pipe covering that, we're also gonna have to find a way to protect this because that is obviously at risk as well. But first, today we're gonna do the tubing, and then later we're gonna tackle that because I gotta mow this grass. It's getting long. Well, it's not completely done, but at least we got the main section contained so that I can mow the grass without having to worry about it getting clipped. Still gonna need a couple elbow joints to finish off the back end over there. But it's improved. In the meantime, I'm gonna tape the sections off down there and I guess right there just to keep rain from coming in. Time to get the grass mowed.